All right, in this video, I want to show you how to make an essential editing brush for Photoshop that's super simple to make, and it will benefit your Photoshop workflow immensely. Let's go check it out. Here we go. Okay, to build the editing brush, what you need is a blank document, and I'm just in the default Photoshop size, 7 inches wide, 5 inches high, 300 pixels per inch. I'm going to go to the View menu and go to Show, and I'm going to show the grid. Command or Control apostrophe will do that, and make sure Snap to Grid is turned on as well. Let's zoom in to a 1x1 area, and you're going to take your marquee tool, and we're going to use the elliptical marquee to start. Now the keyboard shortcut for marquee is M, but if you want to cycle between the rectangle and the ellipse, you can do Shift M, and that will take you in between the two tools. So I'm going to draw a circle that is a 1/2 inch wide by a 1/2 inch high. And so that'll be 4 of these little grid squares. Now I'm going to take my rectangular marquee, so I just did Shift M, and I'm going to add a square on the bottom right corner. So it's just rounded over here, and now it's square over here. I'm going to take the rectangular marquee again, holding down my Shift, and I'm going to add a rectangle to the top of it. And now I'm going to take the lasso tool, the polygon lasso tool. This is the one that allows me to just click and create a selection, click points and create a selection. And I'm going to hold my Alt or Option key down, and I'm going to subtract a diagonal that starts in the upper left corner and goes over to the right 5 little grid squares down, and then comes up and then reconnects with the beginning. So now I have this point, I have a round, and I have a square area. The next thing I'm going to do is go to the Edit menu, Fill, and I'm going to fill this in with black. And so that is the foundation for my brush. I'm going to take the rectangular marquee and make a selection around the entire thing. Go to the Edit menu, define brush preset. I'm going to call this editing brush, and we'll click on OK. And now that's the shape of our brush. Let's go deselect that. We'll go into our brush settings. So go to the Window menu, Brush Settings. And really the only adjustment that we need to make to this is to change the spacing all the way down to 1. So as we draw with this, it will, there won't be any gaps between the strokes. Now we can save this as a preset. So go to the New Preset from the Brush Settings menu. We'll call this Editing Brush 01. Whatever you want to call it, and we'll say OK. And now these settings are saved with the brush in here. So this is again a great tool to work on some very fine editing. So you can see how it's painting like that. Let me turn off my opacity here. Let's turn off the grid. So obviously you can just paint with it, but really it's the biggest benefit is the fact that it has this very sharp point on it. And so I like to use this when I'm editing an image or a mask or something like that. So here's how you might use the editing brush. I like to do a lot of selections using the quick mask. So I'm going to show you how that works. I'm going to take the marquee, and I'm just going to select around this particular flower. Type Q on my keyboard to get into the quick mask, and then I'll zoom in close on one of these flowers. And so when I do a quick mask, I typically draw around the exterior of whatever it is I'm selecting. I make a solid boundary. I use my magic wand. I inverse that selection, fill it in with black, and then I have a good selection. I'm not going to do that whole thing for you, but I'm going to show you how I might use this editing brush in order to create this boundary. So what I'm going to do is just start up here, and I'm going to hold my Shift key down, and I'm going to click from point to point. Because I have this nice sharp tip for my brush, it makes it really fine, clean edge. And I've overshot this a little bit, and that's perfectly fine. Now I'm going to rotate my brush, and a great way to do this is to hold the Shift key down and use your left or right arrow keys. And now I'm going to rotate this to get this into a new position. So I'm just going to continue moving along down the other side. And again, I'm not going to do this entire selection for you. That's for another video, but this gives you an idea of how to use it. And so what I like about this brush is where I've overshot, what I can do now is I can swap my colors. So instead of having black as my foreground, I can have white as my foreground. I'm just typing X, and then I can use that the round part, or essentially the eraser part of my brush, to clean that up. So again, a really versatile brush that you can use for editing, and I hope you will implement it. All right, let me know what you think.